Hey there, I'm Jerry, a DIY track guy, and today we cut up a perfectly good hood to install these hood vents. If you're into this kind of Miata content, please like, subscribe, comment, you know the drill. It supports the channel and it helps me with my night terrors. These are R Theory Motorsports hood vents for an NA or NB Miata. I bought these from my friend Rajan. You know Rajan, right? No? Let me introduce you.
Hey guys, my name is Rajan. I'm the owner of R Theory Motorsports. R Theory Motorsports, we specialize in suspension and aero parts for mostly Miatas. We also do parts for S2000s, 86s, and a bunch of universal parts. You can check out all the parts that we offer at www.rtheorymotorsports.com.
R Theory carries an array of precision-built performance products, including many specifically made for us Miata enthusiasts. Although I'm not sponsored by R Theory, I'm super stoked to support a local Toronto business that designs and produces very cool products for a car that I love. Back to the hood vents, I purchased a 3-panel set, but they also have a 5-panel or 7-panel version that can pretty much turn your whole hood into a giant vent. These are laser cut from 2¼ aluminum, which is these many inches, and I opted for the black powder-coated version for durability and good looks. Also included is this set of installation instructions. And they say to cut out on the inner line of each of the vent panel templates. Yup, it's arts and crafts day at the Mostly Useless Garage, and we're just getting started with the fun. Over here on the underside of the hood, notice these 3 triangular sections between the structural ribs. And for this center one, the template fits perfectly in here. Now, using my trusty Ryobi 18-volt angle grinder, Ryobi, please sponsor me, I cut a couple of lines through the hood here and here. With the hood down, we line up the panel template with the 2 cut lines to mock up the location. Next, I lay down a bed of green painter's tape, trace out the template on top, and get to cutting. For some reason, the camera didn't record any of the sound of this, so for your entertainment, I'll freestyle the audio track. With the hole cut out with as much precision as a ditch digger, I peel off the tape, deburr the edges so I don't cut myself, and dry fit the vent, which fits quite well. And here's how the underside looks. Alright, only 2 more to go. This process takes a while. Make sure to wear eye protection and a respirator, because the fumes coming off this stuff is for sure toxic. In places, the hood's actually layered with the aluminum skin on top and some steel pieces underneath. And finally, that structural ribbing does need to be cut through a bit. The round corners are the slightly challenging part, but they can mostly be done with the cutting wheel. And cleaned up with a rotary tool or a die grinder. Before we rivet the vents into place, I need to vinyl wrap the hood, and even as I start, I've already made a huge mistake. You've seen me vinyl wrap stuff before, poorly, like in this video in the upper right corner, and every single time I do, I come away adamant that I'll never do it again. But here we are. This is Rivet Premium Plus vinyl wrap in satin black, and I have a huge roll of this stuff in my basement. I start by glassing the hump in the middle of the hood first, and then work on the sides, stretching it with no heat as I go. I wish I had 4 arms, because trying to stretch the material and use the squeegee is pretty hopeless. Then I progress to the front of the hood where the holes are, and this is where I discover I've made a terrible miscalculation. Vinyl doesn't like going over gaping holes, and trying to glass around them is next to impossible. So at the front of the hood, which is the most noticeable place, there's tons of wrinkles because I just couldn't get it flat. And somehow leftover cutting debris got under the vinyl and it looks like shit. And there's this abomination over here where the original paint peeled up as I was working the vinyl, and now this looks even shittier. Man, this sucks. I'm never gonna vinyl wrap anything again. Until the next time, I guess. Now it's time to mount the panels to the hood, so I get the middle one situated, mark 4 of the holes on the hood with a center punch, and drill them out. The R Theory hood vent kit comes with a baggie of rivets, so we use a standard rivet gun to fasten the vent panels into place. I install rivets on the 4 corners of the vent, and then drill out the remaining with the vent in place to make sure the holes line up. And we just need to do the same for the other two panels using the same procedure. So as mentioned, the wrap job's trash, but from a few meters away it starts to look decent. And the real point of this mod isn't about looks, but increased cooling efficiency. If we use our imagination, as we're driving along, a lot of air is piling up right here in front of the radiator opening, creating a high pressure zone. And a lot of it flows over the car, starting in this area at the leading edge of the hood. Although thankfully, some of that air gets pushed through the radiator from this high pressure zone out here into the low pressure zone inside the engine bay. Without any hood vents, the air in here doesn't really have any place to go. Sure, there's openings to the underside of the car, but that's also a low pressure zone. But with the hood vents placed here directly behind the radiator, the air pushing through the rad now does have a place to go, right out of here. And with the massive amount of air flowing over the leading edge of this hood, adjusting the angle of attack of these louvers helps encourage that air to vacuum out or extract the air in there. But as your granny always says, don't believe everything you hear on the internet, so let's apply some science and test this out using string theory. What we have here are lengths of yarn taped to the back side of the vent louvers. And accelerating up to about 90 kilometers per hour, they're showing us the airflow by pointing up and back, which seems to indicate that air is being extracted from under the hood and making its way out the vents. Here it is slowed down to about 10%, and I think the lengths are a little too long. So I cut them down a bit shorter, and accelerating up to 90 kilometers per hour, they seem to behave the same way as before. To make sure the orientation of the yarn isn't affecting anything, I tape over the edge of the louver to angle the yarn down and tuck them into the vents. I also change the camera position so we get a better view of the shorter bits on the left panel. And even as we just get going at less than 40 kilometers per hour on my residential street, the yarn pops out of the vents like a zombie from a grave. As we get moving up to 90 kilometers per hour, we see the longer pieces behave the same way, with the yarn going up and back, again indicating air is flowing from the engine bay and out through the vents. Interestingly, the shorter lengths stand up more, presumably because the tail isn't being dragged back by the overhood airflow. And it's worth mentioning that max coolant temperature remains the same with or without the vents, since the thermostat opens at 83 or 84 Celsius. But subjectively, once it's open, the coolant temps seem to drop rapidly. And oil temperatures also seem really good at less than 100 Celsius. So are hood vents a mod you're considering for your Miata? Well, if you only street drive, then they're probably not necessary, provided your cooling system is functioning adequately. Fix that if it's not. But if you're a hardcore track day enthusiast, then adding hood vents like these R Theory Motorsports ones will definitely improve the efficiency of your cooling system, allowing you to turn more laps and potentially save your motor. Does that sound cool to you? You're awesome. I'm useless. Thanks for watching.